Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, I'm DearMYRTLE, your not-so-retired friend in genealogy, here at RootsTech 2026 in the exhibit hall. And I've got two people, my table mate next door, my back door neighbor, and a good friend from years ago. So let me ask you, let me have you introduce yourself and why you're here.
Hi, I'm Douglas Cornwall. I'm the President General of the Society of the First African Families of English America. This is our first time at RootsTech, so we're very happy to be here, and we're just trying to get the word out about the organization.
This is good. So a lineage organization, and these were early arrivals, weren't they?
Yes, so these are the first Africans who came over in 1619, and so we're a society for people who can trace their family back to the colonial period, which is 1619 until the end of the Revolutionary War in 1783. And if you have an ancestor of African descent who lived during that period, you're eligible for the society.
Okay, and when I spoke with you before the exhibit hall opened, because I try to make friends with my neighbors here, I learned that most of these had either come over as free people of color or as indentured servants, which is different from being enslaved. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so most of them came over involuntarily, but because it was so early in the history of America, the whole institution of slavery as we know it was not firmly established. So they were forced into the established mechanism, which was indentured servitude, that had any number of Irish and English and other Europeans, and they were put into that same system. Their terms were usually much more harsh, but eventually they served their indenture and their families were free, and so that started a community of free black people in America in the colonial period.
And would you say, I think your friend, your associate here mentioned Virginia as a principal place. How far north? Because I tend to think of Connecticut free people of color. Am I doing okay on that? Thank you, Shamele.
Yeah, it's interesting that, in this period, slavery was prevalent through all of the colonies, even Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, those places where we think of as the North, no slavery, but there was slavery there as well. But in that time period, the population centers were in Virginia, and so that's where a lot of the people came to.
Okay, well that makes sense. Yeah, because that was a main population center, or maybe Boston or something like that. Okay, well let me switch gears, talk with a good friend. Shamele, I can't help but think of you and how Cousin Russ introduced me to you first. And tell about what you do.
So I have a show, Genealogy Quick Start, that goes live on Facebook and YouTube every other Tuesday. I'm with Jim Beidler, Michael John Neal, and I have lots of special guests like DearMYRTLE.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you three are the panelists, yes. And it's awesome. And you have a question of the week. Now, when Cousin Russ was coming down to your studio area, talk about that sidewalk experience, because I thought that was a very interesting way to reach people in the neighborhood.
So my show is on Philadelphia's public access. It's called Philly Cam. And in cities across the world, they have a thing called Parking Day in cities. And the goal is to claim these parking spaces as little parklets and create little parks. And I said, wow, this would be a great idea to just help the passerby and with their genealogy. And so we set up a table outside and we did just that. And people came by and shared their history with us. And of course, we knew what we were doing, so we were able to find people. We found people's siblings they didn't even know they had. We found their parents. Yeah, that was kind of interesting, and they were like the same age. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just kind of introducing people to genealogy and how accessible it is. And so people leave with a good feeling and wanting to continue.
That having that first experience be a positive feeling, or I remember Cousin Russ was so excited participating because he'd find somebody in the census record. Oh, that is my grandmother. It's
I'm
at
going to tell you about one that Cousin Russ found.
Okay.
So when Cousin Russ, first of all, Cousin Russ came from the tippy top of New Jersey
I
to
know.
come all the way to the bottom
Yeah.
just to help us out.
Yeah.
And one of the people who came in happened to be a descendant of Paul Robeson, who was a very famous man, actor, just everything. He did Princeton grad. And he had no idea how much family he had. Cousin Russ just showed him all these census records, and he was blown away. Like, he left like he was just confused. So Cousin Russ came down and did some amazing work with us.
He told me all about it. I mean, you know, he and I spoke every day because of our partnership. But
It's so interesting. It's so interesting how genealogy works, because my great-grandfather studied theology at Princeton, and while he was in school there, was the pastor of a church in Jersey. Turns out to be the church that Paul Robeson's father preached at.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yes. And apparently they got rid of him. He was too political. And so they wanted my great-grandfather to preach at that church.
You know, we can't get away with anything, can we? That's for sure. Well, folks, this is just these are the kind of folks we hang out with here at RootsTech. It's such an honor to have you both. I thank you so much for the interview. Oh, sweetheart. Nothing left to say, but I'm DearMYRTLE, your not-so-retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.